All right, welcome back everybody to another video. We're not playing Terraria today because Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just came out yesterday at the time of recording this, and oh my god, am I way more excited than I thought I would be to play the games and make content on the games. The Terraria videos are not stopping, they're gonna keep coming, but I just got Pokemon Violet, and today I was like, wow, I want to make some content about this. And it's not even because of the games, it's because I did some research on the starter Pokemon and their final evolutions and how they're going to perform in battling. I was just talking about it with like a friend for like an hour. Just the starter Pokemon's final evolutions, their stats and abilities and moves, and just like, I'm excited for battling. If you don't know, which you probably don't, because I haven't really made very much Pokemon content over the years, more than anything for me in Pokemon is the battling. I like battling. I like competitive battling. I used to just do competitive battling on Pokemon Showdown for fun like years ago, and it's been a while since I've done any of that. But looking into the new starters, which, you know, spoilers, by the way, we're talking about the new starters and the final evolutions and everything that they have to offer. I was just immediately brought back to, holy moly, these are so cool. I think some of them are actually kind of cracked, and I want to battle with them. I'll show you what I mean. This is basically just going to be a presentation of the new starters and what I think they're going to be able to do in battle. And keep in mind that this isn't coming from somebody who has kept up with the game recently. I have a decent understanding of how Pokemon battling tends to work and what is good and for what reasons, but I don't actually know the meta that has been in the past years for people that like competitive battling and such. So, you know, just take this as excited speculation, because that's really what it is. Without just talking too much, because I could just gush about this for a long time, we're gonna pull up the 3 final evolutions of the starters right now, and I'm gonna go through each of them one by one and tell you what I think about them. And I don't know, man, like, I think I mentioned I was just talking to my friend for like an hour, and we were just like, oh my god, this is so cool, that's awesome. And for one specific Pokemon out of these 3, holy moly, that is so broken, why did they do that? We have Skeledirge, which is the final evolution of the fire starter, Meowscarada, which is the final evolution of the grass starter, and then I can't remember the name of the last one. Let me look it up. We have Quaquaval, which is the final evolution of the water starter. I'm going to try not to talk about items too much and what they mean for the Pokemon, because I don't know all of the like competitive use for all of the items. So maybe I'll mention 1 or 2 here and there, but you know, I'm sure there's new ones too that got introduced in like Sword and Shield. I don't actually know much about Sword and Shield. I never played the games. So again, I'm not an expert. I'm just excited, okay? Leave me alone. Don't flame me in the comments for not understanding something. I want comments explaining to me other things about these Pokemon that you think, by the way. Please give me like comments. I would love to discuss. But we have Quaquaval here, which is a water fighting type, which is a pretty cool type. This one is the one that I looked at immediately and was like, I don't like the design as much as the other ones, and the stats don't look particularly fantastic to me, which is not the whole story of the Pokemon. Quaquaval, we have 85 base HP, 120 base attack, which is very high, and 85 base HP is not bad either. Its defense, special attack, special defense, and speed are all middling, but not bad at all, and this is because it's a starter Pokemon. It has like 530 base stats, and that's just, you know, of course, it's just going to be a strong Pokemon overall. But I think just looking from it immediately, you're probably going to want to go with an adamant nature and max attack and max speed. I don't know if there's going to be like bulk archetypes with this Pokemon, or if there's any like specific situations where you want to go max speed instead of attack, like as in like you go max speed and then nature, because I don't look into things in that depth, or I don't know things of that depth, because I'm not super into competitive battling, at least right now. Obviously, it has a very high attack stat. This thing is going to hit really hard, but the thing that stood out to me is that its speed was not that high. So to me, it was kind of like the middle ground Pokemon. Like, it can hit hard, but it can't take hits super well, and it doesn't outspeed like, you know, really fast Pokemon. But we have some interesting things with this Pokemon that can actually make up for that, or I think might be able to make up for that. And that comes in some of its moves and its ability, which I also think is interesting. We have Torrent, obviously, as the basic water type starter ability, but it has Moxie as a hidden ability, which means that its attack is raised by 1 stage if it attacks and KOs another Pokemon. So if you get Moxie off, then your attack is going to be looking pretty strong. I think that in a competitive sense, you're always going to want to run Moxie or almost any other ability on these other Pokemon other than their base ability, because what are they called? Torrent, Blaze, and I can't remember the grass one, are not that good. Contrary to my original thought that this might not be that good because it's kind of slow, it seems to have ways around this when studying its moveset a little bit, which the first thing that stood out to me was that it gets Aqua Jet at level 13. I don't know when that is in its pre-evolved form, but it gets Aqua Jet, is a priority move. So if you're getting Moxie off and your attack is super high, Aqua Jet's gonna be hitting hard, especially on super effective targets. I feel like this could really snowball with this Pokemon by using Aqua Jet just to, you know, find KOs on like weaker Pokemon that it's super effective against, or after you've already stacked Moxie once or twice, just, you know, kill something that it's neutral against because its attack is really high. And it was just spoiled slightly, but this thing has another move which I think could also snowball it and just start it off with that Moxie, which is its signature move that it gets by level up, which is called Aqua Step, which is 80 power, 100% accurate, with a 100% chance to raise the user's speed by 1. But you use this, and it does a lot of damage, and then your speed goes up to base 130, I think that is. And I feel like that can go places very quickly with that much speed. You can just KO again, you could raise your speed again and be outspeeding, you know, most Pokemon in the game. And then all of a sudden you have a Moxie stack and you're super fast and you have priority if you really need it, again with Moxie stacks on a very high base attack Pokemon. As far as other water moves, it gets Go. You have Aqua Cutter, which is basically just Night Slash but water. Liquidation, which is slightly stronger than Aqua Step, although I feel like Aqua Step and its speed boosting effect is going to still be better. And Wave Crash, which is a possible move that you might want to use because it has a lot of power. You're gonna be, you know, one-hit KOing Pokemon that you otherwise wouldn't be able to with this. You have a Low Kick for your fighting stab. You're probably just gonna end up wanting to go close combat, which is just, you know, old, reliable, 120 power fighting type move. We have Brick Break, which is just Brick Break, right? Solid if you don't want to use close combat and reduce your defenses. And then we have some other decent coverage as well that you're probably going to want to slap on for your last move, which you have Brave Bird, which, I mean, you know, a Moxie boosted Brave Bird is going to hit really hard. The Mon gets Acrobatics by level up, which might be useful if there's some sort of consumable item that you would want to use with this Pokemon. And then most likely what I would end up going for is this move called Ice Spinner, which appears to me to just be an 80 base power, 100% accuracy ice move that ends the effects of terrain. So that's pretty good. But yeah, this moveset seems like the one that would make the most sense to me. Though you also do have some interesting setup options if you would want to go that route, being Bulk Up and Swords Dance, which, you know, I can see myself using like a Swords Dance Aqua Jet or something. But that's basically the extent of what Quaquaval can do. I do think that this snowballing priority and speed boosting sort of dynamic that it has is really cool. So, you know, that will be interesting to try out. Okay, I was really excited when looking at Skeledirge, and I was hoping that it had something a little more than it does have, but it doesn't, and I'll get to that. But I still love this Pokemon. I think the design is awesome. It's basically a tank. It has really high HP and pretty high defense, so it specializes at defensively walling. It also has a very high special attack, which, you know, that's what you're going to end up wanting to use. So in, like, you know, a competitive build, you're probably going to end up wanting to go max HP, max special attack, or probably, I feel like the more viable thing will actually be to go just maximum defense and have a physical wall. Since it's going to be really good at this, you're going to end up with something like, no, not that, Bold Nature. I think this is probably how you're going to want to build this. You could also go obviously for a max special attack with Modest sort of thing for damage, you know, just a hard hitting special attacking Pokemon that has some pretty serious bulk behind it. But the thing that excited me about this Pokemon at first was that, and it still does, I don't know why I just said at first, but it has Unaware, which is one of my favorite, like, cheese abilities. It's also just a really good ability, though, because, you know, because people like to set up. They like to set up bulk ups and swords dances and dragon dances and nasty plots and things that'll make their Pokemon do a lot more damage. And so if you have Unaware as a hidden ability on this Pokemon, you just send this thing out on an opponent that's setting up on you. You know, as long as it's not like a Pokemon that's super effective on you, you're going to need to have another answer for that, probably. But Unaware is just going to ignore their stat changes. That's just a great ability, especially for a tank Pokemon, which if you're building like full damage isn't always going to be killing things outright. So that gives the opponents a chance to set up potentially. But, you know, not with Skeledirge because it has Unaware, so they're not going to be able to just set up and kill you the next turn. I almost wish that this was not a ghost type because Wildfire Ghost is an extremely cool typing. I love that. Like, the only other fire ghost I can think of is Chandelure, and Chandelure is awesome. This means that it can't use Curse, which I'm sad about. Something I used to love doing on Pokemon Showdown when I used to battle was using Quagsire with Unaware or Clefable with Unaware, and I think Quagsire gets Stockpile. It might also get Curse, and Clefable gets like Cosmic Power, which boosts its stats. So basically you could set up on the enemy Pokemon and they could not set up on you. And they also had HP recovering moves, which this Pokemon also does. This Pokemon has Slack Off, which would be insane if you used it with Curse. I don't actually remember what Quagsire had. Let me just take a look really quick. Like, it has Unaware, obviously. Actually has like more attack than Skeledirge, but its defenses are actually worse. Does it have Curse? It does have Curse. So you could do a similar thing with Quagsire, right? I used to love doing that. But you can't actually do that with Skeledirge because it's a ghost type, and if you Curse, it's just going to get cursed and kill itself. So that's a no-go, even though that would have been so cool if you could do that. But no, you just have Slack Off, which I think is probably going to end up being something that you use. You have Will-O-Wisp. I'm just sticking first with the tank sort of options. So if you Will-O-Wisp with this thing, Unaware, Slack Off, it's never going to die to physical attackers. This will never die to physical attackers. And I mean, that's a crazy physical tank. You know, I'll give it that. That's nuts. So this is something that I feel like might be the most meta for it. Something like Slack Off Will-O-Wisp with a couple of extra coverage moves like Flamethrower, or its signature move called Torch Song, which this means that you can set up actually a little bit because this is an 80 power move with 100% accuracy that has a 100% chance to raise your special attack. So if you just basically incapacitate a defensive Pokemon because it's hitting a defensive wall this huge and you Will-O-Wisp it or something, you could just get like free Torch Songs or a free Torch Song, and all of a sudden you already have this pretty good special attack stat and it's getting boosted. This is actually, you know, like, this is good. This is strong. And I really like it. Along with that, you also have obviously like Shadow Ball for your ghost type stab. You have Earth Power here as, you know, ground coverage. Ground is obviously a good typing. Hits super effective on a lot of things. You might want to run this instead of Shadow Ball, or you might just want to go Slack Off for utility and not even run Will-O-Wisp, although I think this would be my favorite move set. And you could just go with all of them. You could just go with Shadow Ball as well. Shadow Ball, Torch Song, Earth Power. It's pretty good coverage and it's strong. You still have this, you know, super bulky Pokemon that can heal itself while setting up at the same time. Like, that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that's like the extent of the Pokemon. It seems to have kind of less options than the other ones do for its, you know, strongest move type, which is like special attacking as a defensive tank. Because interestingly, it would actually have better coverage if you could use Curse and have it be a physical attacker, because it has, you know, Crunch, strong dark type move. You don't need that. You have Shadow Claw, I think. It has Seed Bomb for some reason, which would be great if it was a physical attacker. It has Zen Headbutt, which would be great if it was a physical attacker, but it's not. Also, you have Yawn. I don't know if you would want to use Yawn over Will-O-Wisp. Burn might be a better move to use in combination with this Pokemon, but at the same time, you know, you can just go Yawn, Slack Off, Torch Song, setting up on people and just hitting them while they're hit, forcing them to switch with Yawn, getting Torch Songs on the enemy, and then just dealing a lot of damage. And you know, regardless of what you go for in that sort of, also this has Hex, I just realized. You can go Yawn or Will-O-Wisp and then not go Shadow Ball. You can go Hex, which, How much damage does this deal? It does 130 base damage if it has a status ailment in the target. Like, this is really cool. This has good options, you know? You have substitute if you want it to be an asshole, I guess. I don't know. I really love this. God, yawn, slack off, torch song, substitute, so you're just boosting your attack and you literally never die. Oh my god, this Pokemon. I really love it. I would have found a curse unaware thing to be more fun, but I mean, this is dope. I mean, I love this Pokemon. Like I've already said like 5 times. I think Skeledirge is, in design and how it works, most definitely my favorite Pokemon out of the 3. Finally, we're gonna talk about the Pokemon that I think is most likely to be like super competitive in this game, and that's gonna be Meowscarada. Starting off here, it has really high speed. Speed is generally a really strong stat in the game, so you know that's just already good that it has that. You're gonna want to max its attack. This is a speedy physical attacking Pokemon, that's 100% for sure. Though I did notice that you get something like Nasty Plot, so if you want to do something like a setup special attacking moveset, I'm sure that you can and it'll work okay. But we're going to assume that the best moveset for this thing is going to be max attack, max speed with Adamant or Jolly to max out the speed stat as much as you can, because you want to be outspeeding with this Pokemon. Its defensive stats, kind of like the water starter, are not the most horrendous, but they are not fantastic either. And this Pokemon is probably going to die to a really strong, super effective hit. God, man, this thing outspeeds Greninja by 1 point and also has a higher offensive stat than it. Jeez. And the reason I make that statement is because Greninja is the obvious comparison that I thought of when I saw this Pokemon and what it does, and I was talking to my friend about it, and we're just like, oh my god, this Pokemon is so broken. So first things first, its special ability is Protean, which means that it has stab on any move that it's gonna use, like Greninja does, with a higher speed stat and a higher offensive stat. And that's not even the dumbest part about this new Pokemon. Look at this signature move that this Pokemon gets. I don't think that I'm overhyping this. This move, called Flower Trick, has 70 power and it always hits. Does not check accuracy, means that it always hits, and it always results in a critical hit. You have this speed demon with a decent attack that has what essentially is a 140 base power stab move that does not miss and ignores defense because it always crits. That is so broken, dude. This is insane. This one thing that this Pokemon has is insane. This doesn't have anything to do with the ability yet, but the ability and its stat spread is already like, wow, that could be really good. And then you see this, and I saw it, and immediately I'm like, is this gonna get like changed? Because I feel like this thing is gonna just get like banned or like put into Ubers or something because oh my god, that is insane. So that's the main thing that I'm like, what? That's so stupid. But, you know, we have Night Slash, which is going to be your, probably your general dark move. That's just, you know, stab dark move. You have Knockoff as well, which, you know, that's fine. You can use that if you want to. I know that that is popular because it does a lot more damage if the user's holding an item and it removes the item. That's a strong move. So, you know, take it back. You're probably going to want to use Knockoff on this Pokemon. You do have some other interesting stuff with grass moves, by the way. It's not just Flower Trick, although I cannot imagine why you would use a move other than Flower Trick. That's a busted move. But, you know, you have this thing called Trailblaze, which can increase your speed, which might have some interesting, you know, uses. You have Seed Bomb, which has a slightly stronger base damage than Flower Trick, but again, Flower Trick always crits, so it's going to be doing way more damage. But on top of that, we also have Protean. So I'm pretty sure if you use any move, Protean changes your typing to that one typing. But with Protean, we have a couple of things you can do, which are just extras on top of what already seems to be an exceedingly strong Pokemon. You have Thunder Punch, so, you know, electric type coverage. You have Stab Thunder Punch because Protean turns you into an electric type when you use it. The main other thing that it gets by level up is Play Rough, which I think you're probably going to want since Fairy type is good against, like, dragons specifically and such. You get Stab, Play Rough because Protean turns you into a Fairy type when you use Play Rough, and then lot of damage. This would be the main trio of moves I think you're going to use, and then you would want to put something like Thunder Punch on this Pokemon, along with a couple of other options that you could have. You could have Shadow Claw, which I think you still want knockoff regardless, but if you wanted Shadow Claw for some reason because of the resistances or something that Ghost type has, because you become Ghost type when you use it, you could use that specifically for dealing with something like Fire types, which are something you're probably going to end up coming across, or fire type moves to try to attack your Pokemon because it's a grass type. You have a move called Chilling Water, which is special and I don't think would actually be that good, but it's kind of weird because you can use this. It has a 100% chance to lower the target's attack by 1, which has some use, but also it would turn you into a water type with Protean, which can, you know, just let you kind of finagle with your opponents and, you know, just subvert super effective damage and turn it into not very effective damage. So even though I don't think you'll generally be using this, I think it's a really interesting option that you still have to like mind game people. This is an interesting option. You have like Aerial Ace if you just want general coverage, which, you know, doesn't miss again. You have Brick Break for fighting type coverage. This turns you into a fighting type. You get Stab, Brick Break, which is strong. And I think that's mostly everything that this Mon gets. You have Sucker Punch if you want to use this. You know, I don't think you need this because the Pokemon is so fast. If there's some specific situation that you need this sort of priority for, you have that, because why not? That's pretty much the extent of what the Pokemon has though. I mean, just decent coverage, but a really good stat spread and an insane move and an insane ability. All of these starter Pokemon are really cool in what they can do. I like the dynamic of all of them. I think this one is kind of stupid, but you know, that just tends to happen with Pokemon. Hope that you Pokemon heads out there are, you know, just as excited as me. And I mean, I don't know, this was just awesome. That's probably gonna be all for the video. I just wanted to bring you these and discuss them because I don't know, man. I mean, I'm like giddy right now. I'm giddy. It's so cool. I'm probably gonna go play Pokemon after this, you know? That'll be everything for the video. However, more Pokemon stuff probably going to be coming soon, along with my Terraria content that I'm going to continue making. But that's going to be all. Hope you enjoyed. If you're new here, I'd appreciate if you checked out my channel and took a look at my other stuff. Maybe, you know, you'll find something that you like. But I'll be off, and I'll see you in the next one.